our classic Rome tour. A day of history, love, and laughter. Our classic Rome tour was more than just a sightseeing excursion. It was a journey through time, through passion, and through a place that doesn't just impress you, but leaves its mark on your soul. From the very beginning, there was a kind of magic in the air. Our hearts were fluttering with anticipation, like we were stepping into the pages of a living story. We set off early from the port of Civitavecchia, the sun just starting to stretch across the horizon. The gentle rumble of the coach bus came to life beneath us, and soon we were gliding through the postcard-perfect Italian countryside. Through the wide panoramic windows of our comfortable coach, the scenery rolled by like a film. Vineyards kissed by dew, olive groves shimmering in the morning light, and those iconic terracotta rooftops that make you feel like you've entered a Renaissance painting. Our guide welcomed us with a warm smile and a voice full of excitement. "Today," she said, "you won't just walk through history. You'll taste it, breathe it, feel it, and maybe, just maybe, fall in love with it. Every stone has a story, and every piazza, a soul." Those words stayed with me the whole day. On our way to Rome, as we passed more vineyards, olive groves, and sun-soaked villas, our guide leaned into the microphone and said, "To your left, those are the fields where Romans probably debated wine over war. And to your right, more reasons to fall in love with Italy." Now, if you're planning to visit the Colosseum yourself, and I truly hope you do, here are a few heartfelt tips we picked up along the way. First, go early. The morning light casts a golden glow over the ruins, making everything feel almost surreal. It's also quieter, that giving you space to reflect. Second, book a guided tour. Trust me, it adds layers of depth. When we explored the underground hypogeum, where animals and gladiators once waited before stepping into the arena, we understood just how complex and how human this place really was. Third, wear comfortable shoes. This isn't a flat, modern surface. These are ancient stones with stories worn into every step. You'll be glad your feet are happy. Take your time. Don't rush from spot to spot, just snapping photos. Sit on a stone bench, listen to the sounds, breathe in the Roman air. Let the place speak to you. Bring water. Especially in the summer, the Roman sun can be intense. Stay hydrated and stay present. As we made our way toward Rome, the past began to rise up all around us. You could feel the weight and wonder of centuries building the closer we got. And when we finally arrived and caught our first glimpse of the Colosseum, it took our breath away. It wasn't just its size or its age, but the spirit of it. Standing in its presence was like meeting a legend. And finally, look up, look down, look within. Every crack in those walls holds wisdom. Every detail, no matter how small, is part of something greater. And in that moment, I smiled, because I already had. Our coach bus gently pulled into central Rome, and our group disembarked near the Colosseum. In that moment, the air itself seemed to shift. A palpable buzz of history and life that wrapped around us like an invisible cloak. The sheer magnitude of the ancient amphitheater left everyone awestruck. Our guide's voice carried over the murmurs of the small crowd as he said, "Did you know the Colosseum could hold over 50,000 spectators? Imagine the roar of a rock concert, combined with the fierce intensity of a gladiator fight, all echoing through the ages." Those words weren't just facts. They were a doorway into a vibrant past. There's something inherently humbling about seeing the Colosseum for the first time. Standing before it, you sense not only the grandeur and architectural genius, but also the grit and echoes of ancient cheers that seem to whisper from every stone. The place is a living reminder of how the human spirit dares to dream, build, and endure through time, regardless of the odds. And as we stood there, our hearts quickened, and our minds raced through centuries of victories and sorrows. From that initial encounter, we continued our journey by exploring the Roman Forum, a sprawling landscape where broken columns, scattered ruins, and weathered arches each held their own secret. As you walk among these remnants, they almost speak to you, whispering the secrets of emperors, philosophers, and citizens who once roamed these now silent paths. It was as if history wasn't confined to textbooks, but was living and breathing around us, waiting to be rediscovered. Returning to the Colosseum, stepping through its ancient arches felt almost surreal, like straddling two worlds. The layered tiers and the mysterious underground labyrinth known as the Hypogeum transported me to a time when this arena wasn't just a structure, but the heart of Roman entertainment. Our guide painted vivid pictures of the spectacles once held here, brutal games that tested human endurance, exotic animals imported from far-off lands like Africa that roamed its corridors, and even full naval battles staged when the arena was ingeniously flooded. As he spoke, you could almost hear the clash of swords and the roar of the crowds filling the vast space. I closed my eyes for just a moment and allowed myself to be carried away by the imagery. I imagined the thunderous hooves of charging war horses, the metallic clash of finely wrought swords, and the collective gasp of 50,000 spectators, their emotions swinging wildly between exhilaration and terror as life and death danced before their eyes. Yet, amid all this chaos and spectacle, there was something deeper stirring within me, a profound sense of reverence. This wasn't merely an ancient ruin. It was a monument celebrating the audacity of human ingenuity, the resilience of spirit, and even the sometimes haunting obsession with power and entertainment. In its weathered stones, beauty and melancholy intertwined, each echoing a piece of a story that has survived the march of time. As someone who treasures art and design, I found myself utterly blown away by the Colosseum's architecture. It stands as a marvel of Roman engineering, tiered seating arranged with mathematical precision that ensured every spectator had a clear view of the spectacle, vast corridors that allowed tens of thousands to enter and exit swiftly, a feat of design and logistics that still inspires awe today, and even an ingenious early version of an elevator system used to lift animals and elaborate props onto the stage floor for the grand performances. These details are not merely technical. They are reflections of a civilization that dared to dream on a scale far beyond its time. Standing there, I felt that the Colosseum was massive, not just in its physical size, but in the ambition it represented. The Romans weren't designing solely for the present moment, they were building monuments for eternity. They sought to etch their legacy into the very fabric of history. And in that spirit, the Colosseum remains a timeless testament to human ambition, yet it also forces us to confront our own fragility in the face of time's relentless march. I'll be honest, visiting the Colosseum stirred something in me that I hadn't anticipated. Yes, there was a profound sense of awe. Yes, there was amazement at the sheer scale and ingenuity of this ancient structure. Yet amid these overwhelming emotions, I also felt an undercurrent of grief. It was a grief for the countless lives that were lost in the brutal spectacles of old, for the civilization that once soared to unprecedented heights only to fall, and for the reminder that even the greatest empires eventually yield to time. But perhaps that's the very point of standing among ruins like these, to pause and reflect on the passage of time, to contemplate the impermanence of even our loftiest achievements, and to ask ourselves what kind of legacy we want to leave behind. Rome, with its layers of history and magic, continually invites us to look deeper. And for me, the Colosseum is not just an iconic relic. It is the heartbeat of the city, the beginning and the end, a place where time folds in on itself, reminding us that true greatness isn't measured solely by how high we rise, but by how deeply we endure. So, if you're ever fortunate enough to walk where gladiators once stood, take a moment, pause, look around, and listen. In the quiet between the stones and the echoes of past triumphs and tribulations, history still speaks to you in whispers. And in those whispers, perhaps you'll find a fragment of inspiration that will stay with you forever. Walking through this area is like opening a living history book, one where the pages are made of stone and the stories are carved into every column and wall. The Roman Forum, the heart of ancient Rome. Once a bustling center of political, religious, and commercial life, this space is filled with the remains of temples, government buildings, and public gathering spots. You can stand among ruins that once housed the Roman Senate, where decisions that shaped the empire were debated. The Temple of Saturn, one of the oldest sacred places in the Forum, still stands tall with its impressive columns reaching toward the sky. The Basilica of Maxentius, massive even in ruins, hints at the architectural ambitions of the Romans. And tucked just beyond, you'll find the House of the Vestal Virgins, home to priestesses who kept the sacred fire of Rome burning. There's something powerful about walking these paths, knowing that every step you take overlaps with where emperors, generals, and citizens once stood. Just above the Forum rises Palatine Hill, believed to be the very birthplace of Rome. According to legend, it's where Romulus founded the city in 753 BCE. Today, the hill is scattered with remnants of opulent imperial palaces. One of the most fascinating sights here is the Palatine House, widely believed to be the birthplace of Emperor Augustus. As you explore, you'll see how the emperors lived, in sprawling residences with courtyards, private baths, and panoramic views of the city they ruled. It's a quiet place, somehow more intimate than the Forum below, and yet it's where the real power of Rome was once concentrated. As you descend from Palatine Hill toward the Colosseum, you'll pass the Arch of Constantine, a massive triumphal arch erected in the 4th century to commemorate Constantine's victory at the Battle of Milvian Bridge. It's adorned with intricate reliefs taken from earlier monuments, symbolizing Rome's long tradition of honoring military triumphs through monumental architecture. And not far off, rising like a marble mountain, is the Monumento Nazionale of Vittorio Emanuele II, also known as the Vittoriano or the Altar of the Fatherland. Together, these sites create a layered story of myth and monarchy, of empire and unification. And walking among them, you don't just see history, you feel it. The romance of the Trevi Fountain. There's something undeniably romantic about the Trevi Fountain. Maybe it's the way it's nestled in the city like a love letter. Or maybe it's all the stories it holds. The wishes made, the lovers who've kissed beneath it, the millions who've stood where we were standing and believed in something more. It wasn't just a fountain. It was a feeling. You don't find the Trevi Fountain. It finds you. In your search for beauty, it reminds you of wonder. In your search for love, it reflects your heart. And in your quiet toss of a coin, it holds your dreams. I left the fountain feeling lighter, as if the water had taken some of my burdens and replaced them with hope. And that's the magic of Rome. It doesn't just show you history, it lets you leave a piece of your own behind. Have you ever made a wish at the Trevi Fountain? What did it feel like to stand before something so timeless? Let's share stories in the comments below. Standing beneath its perfect dome and gazing up at the open oculus, I felt a strange sense of peace. This city, chaotic, ancient, and alive, holds you gently and reminds you of your own story. On the bus ride back, Rome faded in the rearview mirror, but the memories were already etched in our hearts. If you're sailing with Royal Caribbean and spot the classic Rome with lunch excursion, take it. You won't just check landmarks off your list. You'll walk in the footsteps of emperors, toss coins into eternal waters, eat like locals, and discover stories waiting to be told. And maybe, if you're lucky, you'll have your own precious moment, where time stands still and the world feels just right. Leaving the Pantheon behind, we stepped out into the golden Roman sunlight, the sound of footsteps echoing through the cobbled streets. We wandered past bustling piazzas and quiet alleyways, each turn revealing a new layer of the city's charm. Gelaterias tucked into corners, ivy-draped balconies, and locals chatting over espresso. As we crossed Ponte Sant'Angelo, the statues of angels lining the bridge seemed to guide our steps, each one holding symbols of Christ's passion, carved with such emotion they felt almost alive. Below, the Tiber flowed calmly, reflecting the golden light of late afternoon, while Castel Sant'Angelo loomed beside us, silent and strong, a fortress with its own chapters of history. We paused midway, letting the breeze brush past us as the dome of St. Peter's grew ever larger. The street ahead narrowed slightly, flanked by souvenir shops and cafes, but the sense of pilgrimage deepened with every step. People spoke in hushed tones now, as if approaching something sacred. And then, just beyond the final curve, the road opened wide, welcoming us into the arms of St. Peter's Square. Outside the gates of glory at the Vatican City, there are places on this planet that carry an energy so sacred, you can feel it in your bones long before you cross the threshold. Vatican City, just hearing the name evokes mystery, holiness, and power. And while our time was limited and we didn't go inside St. Peter's Basilica or the Vatican museums that day, standing outside Vatican City was an experience in itself, one that stirred something in me I didn't quite expect. We arrived at St. Peter's Square. There was a hushed reverence in the air, even among the tourists and camera clicks. There were many giant curved rows of columns, 284 of them in total, encircling the square like ancient sentinels. Above them, 140 statues of saints gazed down as if welcoming every soul who had ever come seeking. And I realized something. You don't have to enter the Vatican to feel the Vatican. It meets you where you are. It was a silent witness to both brutality and transformation, a symbol of resilience and redemption. As we walked the perimeter, I marveled at the towering Vatican walls. These thick medieval fortifications reminded me how even sacred ground once needed protection. Yet ironically, being outside them made me feel more connected to the sacred. There was something profound about observing from the outside, like being invited to reflect rather than consume. It's like the soul of this place is whispering through the stones. The energy was a mix of the spiritual and the spontaneous, a reminder that Rome is a living, breathing city, not just a museum of miracles. I reflected on the thousands of people who visit this square every day, some seeking art, others seeking answers, some with cameras, others with prayers. And I thought, isn't that the beauty of spiritual places? They meet you exactly where you are. You don't have to be religious to be moved by the Vatican. You just have to be present. We may not have crossed into the Sistine Chapel or climbed the dome that day, but standing just outside, looking up at that magnificent facade, was enough. More than enough. Because sometimes being outside the gates lets you see the full picture. The sacred and the simple, the majestic and the mundane, all blending into something quietly divine. If you're ever in Rome, make time to walk the square, trace the walls, and breathe it all in. Let the Vatican speak to you, not through words or sermons, but through the silence of stone, sky, and soul. Have you ever visited Vatican City or dreamed of it? What did it awaken in you? Share your story in the comments below. Watch out for our next video. Arrivederci.